What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Borderlands 4 build guide. Today's build is going to be the Ordnance AMON build. This build focuses on using the heavy ordnance, so your rocket launchers and Gatling guns, stuff like that. This build will work for mobbing and for bossing. So first we'll start off with the skill tree. Most of your skills are going to go into the blue tree, and then there will be a little bit in the red tree. And starting at the top, we have Scorched Kairos. We're going to put all 5 points into this. This is going to increase our damage and magazine size with all of our ordnance. So we'll get more shots out of the rocket launchers, stuff like that. And then we're going to put another 5 points into Wrath of Nature. This is going to increase our status effect chance and cryo effectiveness. So if you have an ordnance that has a cryo element, you're gonna get more out of this skill than if you had something without an element. However, it is not necessary to have an element on your ordnance. That's because we have 5 points into Tail of the Comet, and whenever we deal ordnance damage, there's going to be a chance that we apply cryo anyways. This is why you don't need a element on your ordnance itself. And the damage that is done from this skill is at max is going to be 60% of the damage you're dealing anyways. And then we're going to go down the middle tree here. We're going to get 5 points into Icy Rage. Whenever you kill an enemy with cryo damage, you are going to stack your gun damage up, and we have some specializations that are going to make our ordnance damage stack with gun damage. And then next we're going to put 5 points into Primal Surge. This skill, whenever you do a status effect, it is going to have a chance to restore ammo back to your gun. And since you will have a ordnance equipped, it will actually replenish that ammo instead. Next, we're gonna move over here to Blackout. We're gonna put 5 points into this. This is going to give our ordnance chance to crit, and when we crit, it's going to apply 75% of that damage as shock damage. And this skill is gonna really help getting through those shields on some of the harder bosses. This was bugged when the game first came out. You only needed 1 point, but they just recently fixed that and buffed the damage that you get from it. So having 5 points into this is way better than what it was before when it was bugged. As you can see, we have access to Glacial Rupture, but we're actually going to be getting more benefit from not having that equipped and just using the standard Firewall that comes with his skill. And Firewall makes it to where our bullets and stuff actually deal incendiary damage and will block incoming projectiles anyways. And then moving into the red tree, I have 3 points in Impeptus. This is another kill skill. It's going to give us shield regen and movement speed whenever we kill an enemy. And then we have 2 points into Heavy Plate, which is going to increase our maximum shield capacity and our overshield capacity. You can just simply put all 5 points into this if you want to. I find having the 3 skills in this is much better just for mobbing and stuff like that, giving you a little bit more survivability. And then we're going to go down here to Wield the Storm, put all 5 points into that. That is going to increase our status effect damage and the duration that our status effects are on the enemies. That is going to affect Tail of the Comet and Blackout as well. And then for a 1 point, we're going to put it into Gut Punch. That is going to make it to where whenever we deal ordnance damage, we have a chance to weaken enemies. We're going to move down here to Bullet Storm. We're going to put 4 points into this now, which is going to increase our gun damage whenever we do a status effect. And then the last 4 points are going to go into Berserk. So every time that we do our Forge skill, which is the Firewall, we are going to get immunity to damage and then do bonus cryo damage with gun damage. Like I said, we'll have specializations. I'll go over that in a second. That's going to make our ordnance damage also stack with gun damage. This bonus cryo damage is going to stack on top of that as well. So for these specializations, we're going to have Full Spectrum Arsenal, which is going to make our ordnance damage also benefit 50% from gun damage stuff. So that'll stack with the skills that are boosting the gun damage. And then we're going to have Fragmentation Payload, which is going to give our ordnance more chance to crit on top of Blackout and more crit damage. And then I have just these 2 random ones here. You don't need these. I just have them here because I don't have enough points to actually get down to the 2 skills that I need. The main one though that you really want is going to be Riddle You This. And then whenever you deal gun damage, you're going to be getting stacks that increase your gun damage. So at max stacks, it's going to be 50% more gun damage. And then for the other one, you're going to want the Best Defense, which is going to increase your damage based on your health or shield. And as for the gear, the weapons you have equipped aren't really going to matter much because you're not going to be killing with them at all. So pretty much you just want something that can get you a second wind if you do go down. Popular choice is going to be the Hot Slugger just because of the insane damage. So for the Repkit, we do have the Kill Spring. You're not going to be using it to heal just because you do have points that are going to refill your shield and stuff like that. The main thing is just having it for the legendary effect. that when you kill something, any of the excess damage will get converted into healing orbs that home in on you and heal you. If you do any kind of animation, it actually puts your ordnance away. If you want to use it at the start of a fight, ideally you could do amp. You don't necessarily need it amp. We're going to be using the What's for Dinner for the shield, and when the shield is active, we're doing 25% shock damage anyways, because we have skills that are going to give us overshield when we do ordnance damage. We will always have overshield and always be doing that extra 25% damage. I do have amp on this, so I don't need it on the Repkit as well. The ordnance that you're going to be using for bossing, I recommend a honey bunches, because you can charge up the rockets. They do insane amount of damage. This one does have an element on it, so it does help with the tail of the comet, stuff like that, boosting the status effect damage. If you want to do mobbing, I prefer the Atling gun just because the bullets actually do home in on enemies. You don't have to aim as much. For bossing, you can still use it. It's just going to be a lot slower. If you're going for quick kills, you definitely want the honey bunches. You can even use the bottle of lightning. This one's a really fun one. And then you can also use the streamer, because the laser that it shoots actually pierce and hit multiple times. The class mod is going to be the cyborg class mod. You want to make sure you get any rolls on it that says gun damage, ordnance damage, damage dealt, stuff like that. This is like the main skill that you want to have on the class mod, as it's going to be giving you that overshield whenever you do ordnance damage, which is going to give you the 25% more shock damage from the What's for Dinner. And then I would say the second best one to get, or the second skill with the most points, would be for Scorched Kairos. That way you're doing more damage and getting more magazine. It's also boosting Primal Surge. This is going to pretty much guarantee us to always have a fully loaded ordnance. And for the enhancements, you can use anything. It's not going to matter for what manufacturer it's for. You're mostly focused on the passives. So you want anything that says gun damage or gun crit damage, stuff like that. This one is like, I'd say pretty much like a god roll. You don't need a god roll. You can get something like just the gun damage, gun crit, stuff like that. For the firmware, we're going to have 3 Engadget Ahoy. So this is going to boost our ordnance damage even more. And whenever we get a kill with an ordnance, it's going to give us 20% more damage 15 seconds. We're also going to have 1 God Killer. This is going to give us 10% more damage on badass enemies. This also does include bosses. Ideally, you want to get a get throwing. I have been trying to grind for this for like 3 days and I cannot find a get throwing, but that's going to give us even more ordnance damage. I believe it's like 10% on the tier 1. But that is like the main spread of the firmware that you're going to want. And then the basic loop for bossing, you are going to want to start with your firewall, so that way your ordnance will do incendiary damage. Activate that action skill, pull out your ordnance, charge it up, make sure you aim for the crit to get the most amount of damage, and then just delete bosses. And then you see that damage, that was 5 million damage. Pretty much overkill. I don't think there's any enemies in the game that have 5 million health, but they did. They'd be dead. And then for mobbing, like I said, I recommend the Atling gun, because the bullets will actually home in on the enemies. You don't have to aim so much. Basically what you want to do for mobbing, you can do kind of the same thing for bossing. Put your firewall down and then just hold the trigger down and you'll see they're dead. This is on UVH5, by the way. And the bullets do home in on anybody in your crosshairs, so you don't even need to aim. You can shoot over there. So that's the cool thing with this gun. You actually aim over there, and as soon as you put an enemy in your crosshairs, the bullets will home in on the enemy. Yeah, that is the Amon Ordnance build. Like I said, it's super fun to use, and the bosses just absolutely get deleted. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.